Ernie to the stage with a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to welcome you all to the DOJ's first Justice Summit, and I will be briefly discussing the revised protocol for the case management of child victims of abuse, neglect, exploitation, and discrimination. So, the Committee for the Special Protection of Children, as for a brief background, it was strengthened by Executive Order Number 53, Series of 2011, and the CSPC is reorganized to effectively function as the body principally responsible for coordinating and monitoring the investigation and prosecution of cases involving violations of RA 7610 and other child-related criminal laws. So it is chaired by the Secretary of Justice and co-chaired by the Secretary of Social Welfare and Development. And our key members are the Commission on Human Rights, the Department of Foreign Affairs, the Department of Labor and Employment, the Department of Tourism, Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Health, Department of Education, the Bureau of Immigration, National Bureau of Investigation, the Philippine National Police, and the Prosecutor General. And we have 3 representatives from non-government organizations. Currently are the Child Protection Network, the ECPAT Philippines, and we have UNICEF Philippines as an observer. So this is the entire timeline of the development of the revised protocol. So it was first the original protocol was first developed in 2013. However, with the enactment of new laws and the standards of child protection has evolved, the committee decided in 2023 to update it, specifically because it was mentioned by Doc Bernie, as she has the institutional knowledge of the CSPC, that the first protocol was not properly disseminated to stakeholders. So some of you might be aware, some of you might not. So here we are, we can hopefully cascade it nationwide for all duty bearers and stakeholders of child protection to use the revised protocol. So first, the committee meeting was first conducted in 2023, and then for the whole 2024, we conducted 4 focus group discussions, pre-validation meetings, and validation workshops. And finally, it was launched last August 14 at the Department of Justice. So what's new? So for the introduction, we have the intended users. So the intended users of the protocols it shall be used by all professionals and personnel who are involved in cases of child abuse, neglect, exploitation, and discrimination. This includes but is not limited to law enforcement officers, health professionals, prosecutors, social workers, barangay officials, local councils for the protection of children, and other relevant personnel. So we also have the international aspect wherein Filipino children abroad may use the protocol in case of experience of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or discrimination. The protocol shall be used in times of disaster, emergencies, natural hazards, and armed conflicts. And we have the training and certification of the multidisciplinary team, which shall be through the DSWD Academy or the Child Protection Network. The CSPC also plans to conduct an online learning so that it may be cascaded nationwide without need of face-to-face consultations and learnings. So we also have the abbreviations and the definition of terms. We can cascade the soft copy of the protocol for those who are interested in learning more about the protocol. So for Chapter 1, we have the confidentiality. So on the old protocol, there was just a brief mention on confidentiality. And sa panahon ngayon, ito na po talaga yung pinaka-importante, confidentiality, especially we are talking about children. So there's a chapter on media practitioners, the social media and online platforms, the multidisciplinary team, expanded confidentiality, protections and the protection of reporter/informant identity, because we know na meron pong issues na yung mga nagre-report, sila din mismo, they do divulge the information to social media, to other people. So, dyan po. And then we also have the public awareness and education. For Chapter 2, we have the mandatory and duty-bound reporters. This was updated due to new laws and policy. We have the section on immunity from liability, the official acceptors of reports, and the updated flowchart. So this is the updated flowchart. Later on, I will be discussing it per column po, so that everybody can see kung paano po yung actual flow of the protocol po. So for Chapter 3 to 11, this focuses on who to report to, when and who to report to. So we have the reporting at the barangay, and then we also have the reporting at the law enforcement agency. There's a section on case conference and the prohibition against dissuading the victim to file the case. For Chapter 5, we have the reporting at the educational institution. We have the Child Protection Committee, which was established by Department of Education Order Number 40, Series of 2012. We have the reporting to the school principal or counselor, who has the responsibility to investigate, and the administrative cases and administrative liability for those who fail to report cases or suspected cases of caned. So for Chapter 6, we have the reporting at a child caring or child placing institution. We have the reporting mechanism, the making report, and if the alleged offender is a staff member. For Chapter 7, we have reporting at a child's workplace. Again, the reporting mechanism, making a report, and responding to a report if the alleged offender is an employer. For Chapter 8, we have the reporting when a child is a victim of child labor. Chapter 9, reporting at the detention facility if the alleged offender is a warden, superintendent, or head of a provincial jail, head of a city, municipal, district jail, or if the alleged offender is a detention facility personnel. For Chapter 10, we have the reporting when the child is a child at risk or a child in conflict with the law. And for Chapter 11, we have reporting when the child is considered a victim survivor. So who are considered child victim survivors? Children who are found in situations of armed conflict, whether they are affected, involved, or internally displaced. The child committed the crime because he or she was exploited, or the child was involved in armed conflict but did not commit a grave child's rights violation. So for Chapter 12, we have the case management. It includes defining who the case manager would be. So we have the intake interview and safety assessment, the necessity of a joint interview, guidelines on joint interview, what to do if there's no joint interview, addressing the immediate needs of the child, such as safety, urgent basic needs, the psychosocial support, and medical needs. We have rescue of a child victim survivor, the protective custody and involuntary commitment, the duties of the case manager when the child is in court, reintegration and aftercare, transferring the case from one case manager to another to ensure proper turnover and continuation of care, and coordination with the prosecution office for case build-up. And then we have the LSWDO, Designated Child Protection Officer, which shall be designated by the local government unit, whether provincial, city, or municipal, agency, institution, or organization as authorized receiver of reports of cane. The LSWDO CPO can also be the case manager and or the Makabata coordinator. So this is aligned with EO 79, series of 2024, as briefly mentioned by Tita G earlier. The LSWDO CPO is preferably a registered social worker. So it says preferably a registered social worker because we are aware na meron po talagang kakulangan ngayon sa registered social worker. And then the LSWDO may designate an NGO social worker or a private social worker as a CPO if necessary and available. Kasi alam po namin na madami pong NGOs na nag-cater talaga and very active on the ground po. And then for Chapter 13, we have the roles and responsibilities of the multidisciplinary team. For Chapter 14, the medico-legal examination. Chapter 15, the role of the law enforcement agency. And for Chapter 16, we have the role of the DOJ and the prosecutors. So this chapter po was actually consulted and approved by our previous chief of the task force on women and children against trafficking in persons, our speaker for session 3, retired senior assistant state prosecutor Nini Alejo. So we have the general duties of the prosecutors who can file for violations of RA 7610, RA 11930, and other government agencies. The contents of the complaint, psychological evaluation shall not be required if psychological abuse has not been alleged. The procedures, preventing trauma to the child, confidentiality, no dismissal, specific duties when the child is in court, and the use of transcript of forensic interview in lieu of sworn statement. So we have the last chapter now, which is chapter 17, when the child is in court. So there's the prohibition of dismissal on desistance, recantation, or withdrawal, and the confidentiality, and of course, child-sensitive court proceedings. So I will be discussing now the breakdown of the flow chart po. So for the first column, we have the reporting. So anybody can be a reporter. We have the mandatory reporters. He or she shall be the head of any public or private hospital, medical clinic, and similar institutions, attending physician and nurse. And we have the duty-bound reporters, who shall be teachers and administrators in public schools, probation officers, government lawyers, law enforcement officers, barangay officials, corrections officers, and other government officials and employees whose work involves dealing with children. We have the school/child protection committee, and of course the helpline slash other hotlines such as the Makabata 1383 or the Iyakat 1343. So who are the acceptors of reports? So we have the DSWD under RA 7610, the CHR, the Local Social Welfare and Development Office of the municipality, city, or province, the Philippine National Police, the National Bureau of Investigation, other law enforcement agencies, the punong barangay or tribal leader, barangay kagawad, any member of the Barangay Council for the Protection of Children or the BCPC, or barangay help desk person or violence against women desk officer. Under RA 11930, it also includes the following: the concerned barangay authorities, the local council for the protection of children, the school child protection committee, regional interagency committee against trafficking in persons and violence against women and their children, or the RCAT-VAUC, and we have the LCAT-VAUC for the local committee against trafficking, any member agency of the National Coordination Center against online sexual abuse or exploitation of children and child sexual abuse or exploitation materials, or the NCC-OSAIC-CISAM, the local anti-OSAIC and anti-CISAM committees, or any member agency of the Interagency Council Against Trafficking, or the IACAT. So when accepting reports, we are now on the second column. Third column, apologies. On accepting reports at the barangay officials shall receive reports and record in a secure blotter, conduct a limited interview. We have a sample questionnaire, which is included in the annex of the protocol. They shall not ask the child detailed questions, and within 24 hours, they must contact the LSWDO designated child protection officer and refer the case to the social worker. They must also refer the child to the nearest WCPU, and they shall not conduct any mediation or conciliation. So for the referral, the case must be referred to by the LSWDO to the designated child protection officer within 48 hours, and the LSWDO/CPO must refer to the MDT or the multidisciplinary team of the LGU or the Women and Children Protection Unit, and they must coordinate with the law enforcement agency. So if you can see po with the arrows, we have arrow above and below. So depende po kung saan mauuna yung pag-report. So they must always coordinate with each other po. Kaya po yung arrows meron sa taas and meron sa baba. Kasi simultaneous na dapat lagi silang nagko-coordinate with each other. So for the initial response, Case management is a structured and systematic process used by social workers to assess, plan, implement, coordinate, monitor, and evaluate services for individuals and families in need. The process involves identifying and gathering relevant information about a person's or family's needs, including its root causes, assessing the needs of the client and their family, planning a package of services to meet the client's needs, implementing the delivery of services, coordinating the services, monitoring the delivery of services, evaluating the services, and advocating for the client. So, start of the case management includes guidelines on rescue, and there's the identified case manager. So, here po you can see for the initial response, ito po yung mga kailangan gawin ng social worker, and then we have the risk/safety assessment. So, if deemed not safe, they must file for protective custody, and then kapag safe naman po, they will just continue the care po. So, ito po yung continuation of care. So, we have the psychosocial support and other child protection services, the healing and recovery, and the reintegration or relocation, independent living, and other alternatives. So, there's the provision of child protection services and continuing case management, which outlines the duties of the MDT in case management. It includes duties of court social workers and guidance on aftercare and reintegration. So next po, if the case is reported and the report is accepted by the law enforcement, it stresses that joint interview will occur within 48 hours and outlines the duties of law enforcement. So here po, we have the filing of the complaint, whether inquest or preliminary investigation. If there is a filing of information to court, magpo-proceed na po with the hearings, and if dismissed, pwede po mag-MR. And then we have the whole process po of the court proceedings, and after which whether the accused is guilty or not guilty. And it also includes guidance of proceedings when a child is in court. So last po, if you can see, meron po yung red box for the parang majority of the flowchart. So ito po, it stresses that the MDT services are delivered regardless of whether a complaint is filed or whether it reaches court or not. So MDT services shall still be delivered kahit hindi po natuloy sa court. So ito na po, next steps of the CSPC po. So previously, last October 1 to 3, we actually had a visioning workshop at Tagaytay wherein we consulted the key member agencies of the CSPC on what their vision is for the revised protocol as to the rollout, as to 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And then we have planned a national training of trainers for 2026. The rollout of the protocol, creation of primers. So the primers po is individual primers for each stakeholder or duty bearer. So we have one primer for social workers, another primer for law enforcement officers, another primer for prosecutors, for children. We also have one for health professionals, for teachers. So ito po, individual primers catered na po sa mga nitty-gritty details of what they need to help implement po yung protocol. And lastly po, we have the development of online learning for 2026. Kasi alam po namin na imposible pong ma-roll out siya ng face-to-face ng mabilisan po. And syempre, when it comes to children, we have to act fast po. So there was a suggestion actually by Doc Bernie to create an online learning po para initially na magkaroon na ng idea yung mga tao on what the protocol is all about, and magkakaroon po siya ng pre-test, post-test para po to assess po if naintindihan na po ba talaga ng mga duty bearers yung protocol po. Yun lang po. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney C, for the overview of the much-awaited revised protocol. So before we continue with our proceedings, I would like to ask if anybody has any questions for Attorney C regarding the overview of the revised protocol that she had just presented. Oh, somebody from the back?
Hello, good morning. Attorney Maspo from Child Rights Advocacy Center of Miriam College. I'm also the legal consultant of Child Protection Unit. Dr. Bernie is here.
Yes.
Hi, Doc.
Good morning po.
You mentioned a while ago about the risk safety assessment. I just would like to ask if this would be part of the protocol. Kasi at CPU, our social workers do risk assessment,
Yes.
safety assessment, and as a lawyer social worker, I saw that it's very important for social workers to know that as well. So I just would like to ask if that would be part of the protocol, the risk safety assessment. Thank you.
Yes po, thank you very much po for that question. Yes po, it is actually included na po dun sa protocol. But if you have other questions po for as to the nitty-gritty, sisend po namin ngayon yung protocol para may idea po kayo kung ano na po talaga yung mismong laman niya. But the risk and safety assessment po, meron pong specific section po dun sa protocol po. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Edna from Save the Children. Just a few questions regarding children's participation in the development of the revised protocol. So, first question, were children consulted? And also, secondly, are there provisions for reporting for children with disabilities or children with special needs in particular? Kasi since they are the most affected by abuse and exploitation, diba? So, will there be provisions for them to report? Kasi hindi siya apparent in the revised protocol. Thanks.
Yes po. Bali for the child participation po, we will be consulting them for the children's primers po. Para po talagang mas maganda po kasi na sila po for their specific primers po yung makonsult namin. But for the overall of the revised protocol po, they were not consulted po. So ang kinonsult po dito is the actual implementers po of the case management. But for the detailed primers po, doon po i-consult po sila para kung ano po yung mas maganda on how they can access po the yung justice system po on their level. Meron na po, I guess, na for children on reporting po is for the school protection committees po since it is within their educational institution po. And for the PWDs po and other vulnerable sectors po, wala pong specific chapters. Bali, ito po is, as I've mentioned po, is for the implementers po. So even if kunyari PWD po or other vulnerable po, they can still report po through the different mechanisms such as the barangay, the law enforcement officer, the school committees po, if it is in a child placing institution, ganun po.
We believe kasi there's still merit in consulting children, especially in programs or services or systems such as these that impact them specifically. Can you hear me?
Yes po, sorry, medyo mahina
Yeah.
lang po.
So we believe there's merit in consulting children, not just in when things are already implementing, but even in the development process. So baka po pwedeng makonsider natin, especially in the reporting. Kasi in the data, di ba, mababa yung reporting ng mga bata. And maybe our idea of reporting as adults is different from the idea of reporting ng mga bata. So
Yes, ma'am.
something that has to be considered in the revised protocol. Kasi for the past several years, we've been working directly with children, and from what they actually say mirrors what's in the data na hindi talaga sila nag-report because there's actual barriers to reporting. So I think yun yung dapat sana masama in the mix, and more so yung mga may special needs, may special concerns, because children with disabilities can't even report in the first place, or maybe even systems, yung mga existing systems natin has barriers in said reporting. So yun lang.
Apo,
Something
yes.
for us to be
Yes,
something
po.
for us to be cognizant about, or even IP children, for example, kasi since they also face discrimination, how are they able to report? So something for us to think about.
Yes po, thank you so much po. We'll take into consideration po, especially for the development of the primers po, since sila din po yung gagamit nun in the future po. Thank you. Yes, Doc Bernie.
Well, it's well taken what was said about consulting children. I think what everyone should be clear is that this is a living protocol. So that means that if there are still recommendations that will improve it, there's nothing to prevent us from, improving the protocol.
Yes.
So it's not like in stone. Yeah.
Yes, if I may add also.
Yes, Paas.
As mentioned a while ago by our attorney Angel, we will be developing specific primers for specific stakeholders. So there will be a primer for prosecutors, primers for social workers, primer for law enforcement agents. So with the development of the primers, we can include child participation and their voices can be heard. And as mentioned by Doc Bernie also, this is a living document. So this primer kasi is like a general overview of child protection from reporting until the case ends. So dun po sa primer, dun na yung nitty-gritty details of what the stakeholders should do and ano na yung mga kailangan talaga nilang specifics na kailangan na nilang gawin in terms of the protection of children. Yes po.
Thank you, Asek.
Hi.
Hi, sir.
Hi, attorney. Ano lang po, siguro yung may question ako siguro pagdating dun sa revised protocol. Yung ibang portion nung document, ang term ay victim survivor. Pero yung ibang, kunyari, pagdating sa yung minimum interview guide, victim lang yung nakalagay dun sa form. May implication ba pag gagabitin na natin na victim survivor as compared to victim lang legally, or pwedeng gawin na nating victim survivor?
Actually, sir, hindi ko lang po na-update yung PowerPoint ko, pero pina-standardize na po namin dun sa protocol na victim survivor po. Kasi it was actually raised din po during the council board meeting sa CWC po na isa-standardize po na victim survivor yung gagamitin na term po.
So even dun sa siguro yung suggested forms, kasi nakalagay na name of victim, baka name of victim survivor.
Sige
Para
po.
thank you.
I-update
If
na.
I may
sir.
add
Thank you
also,
po.
legally, wala namang implication kung victim or victim survivor legally.
Thank you po. Do we have any other questions from the crowd? Oh, yes. Oh, another one. But this one first.
Yes, good morning po to everybody.
Yes.
I'm Coti Halmasco po from CSWDO Pasig, but detailed at Kanlungan sa Pasig. A 24-hour caring facility, catering not just for children, but also for VAUSI, the adult and elderly, and the teen moms. Well, in addition lang po, first of all, I would like to commend all the stakeholders present here, especially the central office, the SWD central office, and the NCR, and the other LGUs present here. I would just like to ask po, ma'am, with your permission, there are many manuals, what do you call it, mga policies na talaga pong vis-a-vis pinagtutulungan ng mga stakeholders. However, at your end po, ma'am, what do you think is the policy gap that still exists in terms of protecting children from abuse, neglect, exploitation, and discrimination. Kasi, check naman po, with all those policy, still may gaps, kaya nga po nagka-come up ng mga ganito po. Thank you po.
Ay. Bali, honestly, personally speaking po, I don't see a gap in policies po kasi we have actually sobrang dami po, voluminous po ang policies natin on child protection. For me, the gap is the implementation and the collaboration of stakeholders po. Dapat po, kagaya ng sinabi kanina ni OIC Secretary Vida, we should coordinate and collaborate together po. Kasi no agency or institution or individual can do this alone po. So yun po yung nakikita kong gap, yung pag-coordinate ng mga agencies, tayong lahat po, we should all communicate with each other. Hindi po tayo dapat nagsasapawan kung hindi laging collaborative effort po. And yun po, yung pag-implement lang din po of the existing policies po. Yan, thank you. Hopefully nasagot ko naman po yung question niya, ma'am. Okay pa. Thank you po.
Good morning, Attorney. My
Hi,
name
Miss
is Myla Gatchalian. I'm from DSWD. Attorney, on our consultation with LSWDOs, there are issues being raised on additional requirements being requested from one stakeholder to another with regards to handling of cases of children. My question is, what mechanisms are in place in order to monitor the compliance of various stakeholders on the protocol? Thank you.
For the monitoring of compliance, it was actually mentioned po during the visioning workshop. If meron po dapat agency na magmo-monitor for the compliance of each agency or duty bearer sa protocol po. But currently, we still do not have a concrete answer or decision po as to sinong agency or program po, if it will be the CSPC, the DSWD, the DOJ na magmo-monitor po. So we are still trying to come up po with a concrete plan. It is part of the visioning po. Kasi actually kailangan po talaga ng monitoring body. So for now, wala pa po talagang sagot as of date po. But hopefully, magkaroon na po kami ng concrete answer within the year po para we can cascade it din po sa inyo on who to report to if there's a specific body na hindi nag-comply po. Thank you. Yes, pa si Asik po. Ayun.
And then, if I may add also that we are striving and we will recommend the inclusion of yung effective implementation of the protocol sa ating CFLGA for the local government to really implement this protocol. And nandito po yung CCWC. Na kasi po doon sa child-friendly local government audit, meron doong parang facet on child protection. So we can include that doon sa minomonitor po ng CWC. Apa.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Yes, there is.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for that presentation. I'm Kathleen Honcolada from Terdisam, Netherlands. So just two questions for the presenter. So first, I understand that it involves cases of abuse, neglect, exploitation, and discrimination, but I'm not sure if we have already incorporated also the online aspect for the OSAE. If yes, how will the revised protocol collaborate or coordinate, for instance, with the National Strategy Plan for the Anti-OSAIC and Anti-CSAM law? So I am aware that we are currently finalizing the National Strategy Plan. I think it's also headed by the NCC OSAIC CSAM. And how will yung mga reporting hotlines, how will it collaborate also with the Makabata Helpline. Kasi I think we are pegging it as the national helpline for all child protection related cases. So just to avoid duplication, ensure clear collaboration, how will it coordinate with the two? And then for my second question, what would be the role of the private sector in the revised protocol? So will they have a primer also? Kasi for instance, private sectors and even banks, financial institutions for instance, play a crucial role in reporting cases of child labor and even sexual exploitation of children. So that would be po my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you po. Mali ma'am, Tita G will answer daw po your questions.
Of course, because ASEC Anika mentioned the child-friendly local governance audit, I should be standing up here. Well, of course, the child-friendly local governance audit is a mandatory audit for all LGUs. Okay? Ang isang recent example that it was the President himself who said that dapat maging part ng indicators ng CFLGA yung OSAEC, si SAEM. So, the lead naman po talaga ng CFLGA is actually DILG. We are part of the core group. So, yung paggawa ng indicators or if there will be developments, pinag-uusapan po yan towards the end of every year para ma-consider yung mga, kung ano man yung development. The recent one was, of course, the OSAEC, CSIM indicators, which the President himself said that. About this, yung presence of, I was asking ASEC Anika if it's the presence of the revised protocol as part of the tools that the LGU should have. Pwede naman din po na ilalabi natin yan sa DILG and the core group that's handling the indicators of the CFLGA. On the question of the protocol and also the hotlines, how it complements each other. Babalik po ako dun sa na-mention ko kanina na EO79, series of 2024, which is the establishment of the Makabata Program and the institutionalization of the Makabata Helpline 1383. The Makabata Program is supposed to be a one-stop shop program po for CNSP. Actually, it started with Secretary Gatchalian really asking, sino pinupuntahan na ahensya sa local community, sa LGUs, it's something about the abuse of children. So, dun nga po lumabas, pina-identify sa amin, sino yung CNSP? So, we told him who are the CNSP. At yun nga, iba-iba yung pinupuntahan. Pagka children living with HIV, pupunta siyempre sa local DOH. Pagka children with disability, pupunta pa rin sa PIDAW. And he really didn't want that. And even the President didn't want that. Gusto nila, isa lang yung pinupuntahan mo. And ang identified naman po, when you speak of parents patriae, o where parents fail, ang talagang may protective custody na kasi is DSWD. Ang DSWD po yung identified. Kaya pagdating, hindi naman po pwedeng yung national DSWD lagi yung pupuntahan natin. That's where you put the local social welfare development office, the officers. Kaya dun sa EO79, magkakaroon po ng child protection officers, ito yung mga mag-handle ng cases, and you have the Makabata program coordinators also. Yung Makabata helpline naman po, it should be complementing. Although it says, if you look at the EO, it will say na siya yung central reporting system. But that does not mean you do away with all the existing helplines. No, we should be complementing lang po. Kasi yung Makabata program also would establish a database that would be under DSWD. So yung mangyayari lang po, yung mga reports will be in just one place na pagdating sa pagka pinag-usapan ng child abuse. And when you say Makabata program, dito po magiging compendium siya ng protocols. The revised protocol on the case management of, actually, RA 7610 cases po yan. Siya yung mother protocol. Siya yung go-to lagi kasi ng LGU social workers, di ba? Pero, iba pa rin po ang protocol ng CSAC. Iba ang protocol, iba ang pag-handle sa children in situations of armed conflict. In the same manner, iba ang protocol ng children in conflict with the law. Iba ang protocol ng children living with HIV. Iba, kasi pag sinabi mo, children in street situations, hindi lahat yun ay may pang-aabuso. But there is definitely a protocol in handling CISS. Yun naman po yung magiging papel ng Makabata program. I don't know if I'm preempting, although Ada Colico is here. ASEC Ada is here. Magkakaroon po kasi ng JMC, Joint Memorandum Circular. The implementation guidelines of the EO 79 should be coming out. But the latest directive that we had from Secretary is to convert it into a joint memorandum circular of the implementing agencies to make sure na ito ay may implement. Na-mention na po nga po kanina ni Attorney Angel, marami tayong policies. Known ng Pilipinas to have a rich legal framework. The only thing that's always lacking or yung ating Waterloo is the implementation. Dito tayo kailangan magsama-sama po. Yun lang po.
I-add ko lang about doon sa NCC OSAIC. NCC OSAIC was consulted in the development of this protocol. Actually, there's a section or a chapter integrating the flowchart of NCC OSAIC. And then they said through Executive Director May Flores that they will be developing a separate protocol focusing on OSAIC and CSAM. So that's why here in the revised protocol, as mentioned by Ma'am G, this is like the mother protocol. And then NCC OSAIC will be developing an in-depth protocol. And then this protocol naman was vetted by NCC OSAIC. And of course, NCC OSAIC is also chaired by the Department of Justice. So we're in the same family. So yun po, maraming salamat.
Also, we will be harmonizing po the referral pathway of the revised protocol with the OSAIC CSAM po. Thank you. Yes, Doc Bernie.
Two things lang. I was going to add to sa last sentence ni G when she said our Waterloo is implementation. You know, I asked ChatGPT, what are the best laws on OSAIC in the whole world? And then, so ChatGPT gave me 3 answers, and then it gives what is the weakness. Okay, so the 3 answers were the UK online safety law, the Australia online safety law, and the Philippines anti-OSAIC law, 11930. When it came to what is the weakness under the Philippines, if only they can implement it. Pati si ChatGPT alam. Anyway, back to why there is a mother protocol. There's a mother protocol because, remember, we have limited resources, manpower, budget, etc. So, we cannot have like one response for child sexual abuse na contact, and then another response for child sexual abuse na online. Hindi pwede yun. We really have to harmonize how these services and rationalize how these services will be given because hindi masustain kung every issue may sarili siyang response. Because pare-parehas din yung mga tao. We meet each other in every meeting. Iba lang title ng meeting. oh, ngayon, OSAIC tayo. And then next time, oh, ngayon, CSPC tayo. And you're talking about the same people, and then later on, down there on the ground, it's the same barangay. Wala namang barangay for OSAIC and then barangay for CSPC. It's the same barangay. So that's why there's a mother protocol, and then the details on where, the specific details is of course kung saan ipag-uusapan. Talaga bang separate yan? Or is it that you will educate or upskill the people who are handling the cases? Okay.
And yes po, ma'am. Sa likod.
Okay, magandang umaga po ulit.
Yes, well, good morning po.
I was listening kasi kanina po kay Ms. Chino, sinabi niya yung about the, parang it's a joint memorandum circular for all implementing agencies. I'm representing the academic po, private institutions, private academic institutions, Miriam College. We also have our protocol on how we handle cases of abuse, outside of the school. Kasi we have a very strict policy in terms of abuses within the school, piniprevent namin. But nung tinayo kasi po ang Child Rights Advocacy Center of Miriam College, we are one of the advocacy centers ng school. We have a partnership with the Council for the Welfare of Children, particularly the implementation of Makabata Helpline 1383. So when the kids learn about it, may mga lumalabas po na cases, And ang laging tanong sa akin ng mga teachers is, Attorney Mas, how can we protect ourselves? Kasi the parents can actually charge us, Pwede kaming kasuhan. And in fact, it happened to me as well, I stood up for a child and I ended up being accused, And of course, may parang gustong ipa-administrative sanction kami nung school principal din nung school namin. So, suggestion lang siguro, ma'am, if you're going to have the joint circular, probably you can request DepEd to also consider the protection of teachers, and guidance counselors from private academic institutions, because we also have a lot of we're also doing a lot of things, inside our own academic institutions, and we have our own child protection policy as well. And in fact, Miriam College is now crafting its own protocol in handling disclosures of child abuse within the school. Kasi meron talagang nangyayari sa loob ng tahanan. And it doesn't mean that because you're rich, or you're well off, abuse doesn't happen. It just so happens siguro po na mas maraming nagko-complain doon sa mga sa mga private schools, sa mga public schools. But abuses happens in private schools as well. So siguro para lang po ma-address yung agam-agam din po ng mga teachers and guidance counselors namin, na ano naman yung protection namin. Kasi sa law talaga, if you're going to look at the law, ang mandatory reporters are from public schools.
Yes.
Hindi naman yung private schools Kaya laging tanong sa akin ni Attorney Mas, how can we protect ourselves? Ano yung tungtungan natin? Ang lagi kong sagot, nakalagay naman may moral obligation tayo.
Yes,
We have the moral duty to protect children. And I think that would be our tungtungan, our foundation in helping our kids. So I hope that this time, when you do the guidelines, or the joint memorandum circular, can you kindly ask DepEd to also consider protecting the private school teachers and guidance counselors, because we are also helping curb and prevent abuses among our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much po. We actually have a department order po for immunity of social workers. So maybe we can request or ask the OIC secretary or to issue a similar guideline po on immunity of teachers po. And ayun po. And we can also maybe include it po dun sa detailed primers na dinidiscuss po namin. And we have Sasvinini po. Yes po.
Good morning, everybody. I think I'm going to talk about that protection of those who no? Yung mga pinagsusumbungan ng mga bata. National laws po ang nagpo-protect sa inyo. So hindi na kailangan itong mga protocol na to. But that will be talked about later. Different po yan, lalo na sa OSAIC, no? Pag-usapan natin mamaya. Salamat po.
Thank you, Saspinini.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, as you can see, they are now serving iced teas for lunch. So thank you again, Attorney C, for the overview of the
Thank you so
revised
much po.
protocol. Okay, so as previously mentioned, before we continue, let us help ourselves for the lunch provided by the Hilton Hotel. Let us find ourselves back here for our program at 1:30 p.m., where we will be graced by the presence of Secretary Amina Pangandian. Thank you so much. You may now enjoy your lunch.